This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Streaming now on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back.
That's hot. Loves it.
For a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
Check 1, 2. Hello, friends and family, lovers, ex-lovers, enemies, frenemies, complete strangers, whoever may be listening right now. Hi. It's been a minute, and I was saying that with the full thought in my head of, I feel like every time I start a podcast lately, I start off the exact same way. It's been a minute. It's been a while. I've missed you guys. Life has been crazy, as you all know what I've been going through. And now it kind of feels like old news that I keep talking about and can't get over. At least at first it was fresh, but now it's been like a few months and I'm like, should I be over this by now? Should I have been like fully moved on with my life and doing big, great, awesome things and never looking back and smiling and laughing and forgetting that my life crashed all around me a few months ago? I don't know. What do they say? Healing isn't linear, and everybody's healing process is different, and nobody should ever tell you that you should be over something or when you should be over it. But either way, I just feel like I keep using the same excuses of like, it's been a struggle bus of a week or a couple weeks, so that's why I have not been recording as much, TBH. So there you go. Sorry. A lot of mental health days. I've been going through it. But today, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of here as like a therapy session almost. That and also like I really have not recorded in forever. And the one before that was also forever. I don't even remember what I talked about last time. I think I was just giving a life update. It kind of seems like everything I do lately. Like, I promise you guys, a new podcast will be out soon. I promise. And then I do one like months later, but it's okay. I'm trying to keep it here so you guys all don't disappear on me. And it's like a surprise podcast. I could record this and release it on Tuesday like I usually do, but I was just like, F it. I'm going to record it and dump it in your lap as soon as I'm done here. So, I was actually going to come record one on like Friday night, I think it was, but I was an absolute mess, and I'll tell you why here shortly. I don't think I could have gotten through the sobbing. I think it would have been a very short podcast, and the whole thing would have been like this, and it would have been interesting. I might cry today talking about this. Okay, I definitely will. I already feel the tears coming up as soon as I said that. It's fine, though. I'm going to Tom Thumb, y'all, after this. I need to go get some groceries, and I don't want to go all red-eyed and makeup running and gross. Because Tom Thumbs are where all the hotties are. It actually is kind of true. I will say I've been doing my grocery shopping kind of like Friday nights and Saturday nights now. Friday night's kind of my favorite time to go. Look at me getting off on a tangent before I even start the show officially, but it's fine. Used to, the ex and I would go to the grocery store every Sunday afternoon. We do it late usually, and then we get our meal prepping done late, and we just were like a big smorgasbord of like bad habits with each other. We just kind of brought out the worst in each other in every way, even like the most simple and innocent ways. But I digress. Once we broke up, I started going to the grocery store a lot earlier on Sundays and getting all my stuff done, which was great. But now being out alone, like Friday night has kind of become my like self-care chill night. Like if I'm trying to have like one crazy night out a week if I have to pick one, and usually it's Saturday night. I've kind of loved my Friday nights being like I'll do therapy, so my therapist has switched to where she can only do nights, and a lot of times I'll do Friday nights, and it's so funny because sometimes I'll switch to other nights and she has to like try to get me in, but Friday night's always open, and I feel like I'm like the loser that has the Friday night slot because everybody else has stuff to do and has a life. But here's Sarah B. Friday nights. Where can you find me? In therapy. That's right. But it's fine. I kind of, I really used to like it when I was still living with the ex, because it would kind of, you know, at least during the weeks, I wouldn't have to see him as much except for a couple hours at night. But, you know, on weekends, we would be around each other like constantly. And I really liked seeing her on Friday, like afternoons or evenings, just to get me ready for the weekend ahead that was going to be hell. And speaking of that, by the way, like, I don't know, it's so weird to me that I actually lived with my ex-boyfriend for so many months. Like, now that I'm out of that, like, insanely toxic, awful environment, like, I can't believe I did it. And I'm so glad I got out of there, because my mental health was really, really, really deteriorating. That's a hard word. How many syllables? Deteriorating. Oh my God, that's a lot of syllables for a word. I had a double espresso before I came here. I am going off on 3 different subjects right now. Let's cut back to the last one. So anyway, it was super toxic and crazy. And, you know, it's gotten better for sure. I'm not even going to do my little intro, like, welcome to the Sarah B Show. Just because, you know, I want to keep going and not forget what I was talking about. This is like the worst podcast ever. This is what happens when you don't record except for like once a month. My podcast has become like my period. Actually, I've even had my period every 2 weeks now because my body's been so stressed. So I do my period more than my podcast. Okay, another tangent. We're going back. Okay, so toxic living situation. It was so bad. Again, very glad I got out of there. Just the fact that, like, after he broke up with me, you know, he still tried to treat it like we were still in a relationship. The fact that he was still like, do we still want to go to the grocery store together? Like, are you delusional? Like, delusional words are hard today, y'all. But like, who does that? Who like, I'm gonna break up with you and we're still gonna do all the same things we did, and I'd still like to have sex with you if you're down for that, but also I just want to do whatever the F I want on the side without feeling guilty about it. It's kind of what it was. But anyway, it's crazy to me to think that happened, that he would come into my room every night with the excuse of I need to get something or I need to feed my lizard. And no pun intended. And then be like, do you want a massage? And I could never say no, because like, I just loved his touch. Like, I was still in love with him and I couldn't say no. And it was just such a cruel thing to do to somebody who you fucking I just said the fuck word. The fuck word. Oh, well, it's my podcast. You just like ripped somebody's heart out and you're still going to sit there and play with their feelings like that. That's just like, that's a next level, like, of an evil, bad person, you know? Anyway, but all that to say, I'm really happy to be out of there now. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got out of that situation once again. And I feel like it's a breath of fresh air. I will say I am very lonely at times. Like, a lot of times I'm very, very lonely. It's just so quiet. But aside from that, it is so peaceful. It really is. So things are good. You know, they are. And like I was saying, my Friday nights, I kind of do my therapy early. I'll usually do a gym session before that. So Fridays are gym and therapy. And then this is not sponsored. I don't know if you guys have these in your area, but there's a little place called Salad and Go. And if you like to like eat healthier, quicker on the fly, and it's super cheap, you should look up and see if there's one near you. I love this place. They have like a ton of different salads and wraps and like super healthy food. You can do bad there too a little, but it's like really healthy and it's so cheap. Their salads are like $6 or $7 and you can order on the app, just drive up and tell them your name and it's ready for you, like so quick. It's literally ready in 8 minutes. How do I know that? Exactly 8 minutes. Because I swear to you, I've ordered this over 100 times in the last like year. I love this place. And I've tried different ones, but I get the same exact salad every time. It's so good. It's their autumn something salad, like autumn roast salad. It has like sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts, and I get the mixed greens instead of the iceberg lettuce. Just a little Sarah B tip there for you. It comes with like little candied pecans, I think, in it as well, dried cranberries, and then a balsamic dressing. It is effing delicious. So that's like my little Friday night ritual. And I sometimes get a little like either Pinot Grigio or like a Sauvignon Blanc to go with it, and watch some movies. And it's just fun. It's my little Friday night like chill night. So I really have started to enjoy that and embrace it. So yeah, I don't even remember how I started talking about that, but therapy, other things, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so that's been my life lately. It's been good. You know, just working, and it feels weird. I will say I'm not like, I feel like I've moved on a lot. I don't talk to the ex very much. It's really weird to think if I would have stayed in that situation because a week from tomorrow is the end of our lease. So that's how long I would have had to keep staying there. That's crazy. He's still living there. I know he had told me he was even going to keep his bed there till the very last day when he moved in with his parents, which is interesting, but to each their own. I'm not judging what everybody else does with their life. I just told him, listen, you know, you can either pay to have it cleaned or you can clean it. He seems to want to do it all on his own, which is fine. I want to have as little contact as possible. But it's just crazy to think that in a week, we've already barely been in contact, but that'll be it, right? That's our place is gone. It still makes me sad. See, here we go. It still makes me sad to think just like you barely talk to the person you spent every day for 5 years with and the person you really thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with, you know? And I know this is for the better. I do, because things weren't good. You know, I sit here and I think it took getting out of to break that trauma bond, that like detoxing, you know what I mean? But it's still, I think back to like, that's what my therapist tells me, like, were the times really that good together? No, they weren't, you know, like, it just felt like a roommate situation. Every day he would get home from work and be like, I need time to unwind. Like, just give me a minute. Like, never wanted to talk to me. Like, just wanted to do his own thing. You know, like, we paid the bills split down the middle. There were never any date nights, never any surprises, never sweet gestures, never anything. Like, nothing. Even when we went on vacation together, it would just be like going in to eat and drink in a different town. Like, that would be it. It just felt like you were going on a vacation with your roommate or out of town with a roommate or a coworker or something. Like, there was never any romance. And I do genuinely remember thinking, like, every trip we took, I was like, is this what it's going to be like for the rest of my life? Like, there's nothing, there's no feeling, no chemistry, no nothing here, you know? So I don't know. It's so hard to explain. And I think it was just having, like, a warm body there next to me, even though they didn't seem to really like me that much or talk to me that much or really care for my personality or my energy. But it was still somebody there to send Instagram reels to and, like, have to talk to you. Like, I think that's it. You just miss human contact and human interaction, you know? And I just still haven't made, like, a lot of friends here. And I just still, you know, I still feel very, very alone. But that's all changing. It is. And I know it'll continue to change. And it's a hard time, you know. I am choosing the self-healing alone route. I'm not immediately jumping into somebody else's bed. I'm not jumping into another relationship, and no judgment to anybody that does that. I just really chose to do this myself. I really wanted to heal me from the inside out before I do anything else. And I choose to concentrate on that, concentrate on career, my happiness, hobbies, all of that stuff. And speaking of hobbies, I've kind of started to embrace and have a lot of fun with improv. I have been taking, you know, random improv classes, and for the first time ever, last week I took 2 weeks ago, I took a musical improv class, and it was a 3-hour long one. And I was like, this sounds interesting. I was thinking maybe it'll just be like rhyming, a little jingle. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. It didn't really explain, but it was a different teacher than I'd ever worked with, and it sounded fun. So I did it. So I get there, and I don't know anyone, and I already am, like, frustrated when I get there, first of all, because, like, there was so much traffic and so many people, and so I was, like, in a mood when I got there. And then second of all, I didn't know anyone, and everyone in that class knew, like, everybody. There was, like, one person alone, me alone, and then everybody was, like, in groups, like, talking, knowing each other, and I was like, cool. Like, I've been feeling so alone, and then that made me feel even more alone. And I'm like, I was just like, meh. And then our teacher got on stage and started explaining the class. He's like, so we're all going to sing today. There's going to be a lot of singing. We're going to do group singing and separate singing. And it's okay if you're not a great singer. And then I started getting in my head like, oh my God, I don't know how to sing. Like, I thought this was going to be like a fun little like diddle thing. Is this like actual like Broadway singing? And I started freaking out. And I literally started like running through like, what can I do to get out of this class? Can I say there's an emergency? Can I do this? Can I do that? And the worst thing is this improv place is right across from this really cool place called the Truck Yard, where there's like a lot of food trucks and bars and live music. And I really wanted to go over there after and get a drink. They were having this big like, what do they call it? Like Wolfapalooza or something. So it was a big dog day where everybody was bringing their pets, and it was really cool. So I didn't really want to leave early just in case I went over there to drink, and then everybody came over and found me like, I have an emergency, I have to go. And then I'm just like over there drunk alone like a weirdo. So I was like, oh, we'll just stay for a little bit. And we had to do intros. And then everybody started saying like, I'm not a singer, I suck at singing, but I have fun doing this. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And and then our teacher even said, like, you don't have to be a good singer. You can like rap, you can talk it out, whatever. So I started feeling a little better. And then when I did my intro, I was like, hey, I'm Sarah B. You know, I work in radio. I'm doing this for this and this and this. And also I was totally just thinking of excuses to try to get out of here because I started freaking out. But anyway, I ended up staying and I had the absolute best time. The musical improv class was by far my favorite improv class I've taken yet. It was just such a good time. It felt like being in like High School Musical or something. And you know, I did used to take like voice lessons and do singing stuff. And then obviously on air with Lex and Terry, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of felt like that, like the funnest parts of my other job, like, or my job, you know, on stage doing it there. And it was just a great time. Like I did like this fighting duet with this like older woman and like I didn't really know the lines, like what we could say and not say. So I was like, get away from me, your breath smells like poo. And she was like, fuck you. And I was like, oh my God, this 70-year-old woman just said F me. Like I died. I totally broke character. I was laughing so much. Anyway, it was a really fun time though. Made a lot of good friends. And after that, everybody was going next door to drink and got invited. So I made new friends that way. And then once I got over there and got some alcohol in me, I started opening my mouth more, like obviously, and ended up telling them all like, oh my God, my absolute dream is to be on SNL. I just didn't want to say it because I feel like everyone says that. And everybody had kind of an interesting reaction. And it turns out a few people from this group were wanting to make an improv troupe. And there's a big competition that comes up at the end of the year. And they're like wanting to get a group together and like rehearse and all this stuff. So, they said, we think you'd be great. Like, we need more girls and your personality and like you really want it. And for all the same reasons we do, like we'd love for you to join possibly. And I'm like, oh, that would be awesome, possibly. So that's pretty cool. Exchange numbers with everyone, have been like talking. So I guess I'm making friends and finding hobbies, which was really hard for me to do before. And something really exciting too is tomorrow night, I'm going to my first ever out of class improv jam. It's like called a musical improv jam session. So it's almost like an open mic of improv. Apparently you show up, it's BYOB, and you sign up on a piece of paper. You put your name and like if you're new to improv or how long you've been doing it, and they like pair you up. And I guess you just do scenes in front of everyone while everybody's like drinking and cheering you on and like seeing how many laughs you get. It kind of sounds exciting as hell, but also like so scary. So at first I was thinking maybe I'll just go and observe, but now I'm like, nah, like my whole mindset is like, there has to be like at least one person worse than me there. So I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go and just be like brand new. This is my first time, like, and just go for it. And like, also like definitely get little bottles of whiskey to take with me because whiskey gives me courage, or tequila, but tequila makes me cocky. Whiskey just makes me confident. I think we're going to go whiskey. So that's tomorrow night. I'll definitely give an update and let you guys know how that goes. I'll try to get some on camera, like on video, and post that as well. So yeah, that's exciting. All exciting things. Now to get to the sad part that I said was going to make me cry, which I've already cried once this podcast, and it was about my ex, which I still didn't think that was going to happen. Like I thought I was pretty over that by now, but again, you know, I go in little spurts. Okay, so let's talk about this. I've talked about this a little on the air, and a lot of people are very surprised that know me and thought like they would never see this day come ever. But as most of you know, I have two pets. They are cockatoos, my little parrots. I've had them for a very long time. Lilu and Gatsby are their names. Gatsby I got when he was like 5 months old. And Lilu I got when she was like 2, I believe. She came to a bird store that I worked at when she was 1. And then she was at the store for like a year, and then they ended up giving her to me because I worked with her every day while she was at our store, and she didn't like anyone but me. So many people came in wanting to buy her, but she wouldn't go to anybody. So they ended up giving her to me. So I've had her since she was like 2 years old, and she is like 11 or 12 now. So anyway, I've had these birds for like almost 11 years, which is crazy. Now that being said, well, okay, I don't even know how to get to this. I am rehoming them this coming up weekend, which makes me so sad. Shit. I thought I was gonna get like further into this before I started crying. So, basically I've had these birds for a very long time, and let me preface this by like, I always had this dream of when I moved out, and I think I've talked about this before. When I moved out to my own place for the very first time when I was younger, I, Sarah B living in her little fantasy world, always thought of it like Harry Potter, like, ooh, what's going to be my first pet when I move out? Like Hermione had Crookshanks and Ron had his rat Scabbers, and then Harry had Hedwig the owl, and I'm a loser, by the way, just in case you guys didn't know that already. Anyway, I always said that I was going to get a hairless cat. I always wanted a Sphinx cat, like getting a kitten and raising it as my own. Like that was going to be my pet when I moved out. Well, turns out the first time I ever moved out was with a boy. So not only was I living with somebody else for the first time, I was also moving out for the first time. And that was Marcus, a.k.a. Doodoo Boy, as you guys knew him from the Lex and Terry show. I met him working on cruise ships. He was the singer-songwriter, guitar player dude. And I was young. I was like 24. He was like 22. And we moved in together. So immediately I was like, well, I want a pet. But of course, he's allergic to cats. So my mom had a Sphinx cat named Jar Jar Binks. And we brought him over for a weekend just to see how he would do, because we were thinking, he's allergic. It's got to be just the hair or whatever. No, turns out they're allergic to their saliva. And I think the skin or something, or maybe the saliva. But anyway, basically the hair would protect them from it. So he had none of that. So it was way worse. And Marcus's hands were like breaking out in hives and he couldn't breathe. It was so bad. And then Jar Jar was like so cuddly and sweet and rubbing all over him. It was awful. So the cat was a no-go. I worked for Lex and Terry then too, the radio station, and I needed a second job to afford living, in an apartment with a boy. So I started working at this parrot place called Treetop Bird Center, I think. So basically they bred and sold birds. They also rescued them and rehomed them and, did feedings and nail trims and sold food and toys and all this stuff. So anyway, I worked there forever. I still get an employee discount there. It's like changed names. This has been like 15 years or something, or like I guess 11 or 12 years. And I still get an employee discount. I still volunteer there sometimes or fill in when they need employees. I'm like a lifetime employee for them. It's so funny. They're called Birdiac Bird Center now. If you guys want to look them up or follow them, they're really great people. So anyway, I ended up getting a bird instead of a cat. And I was saying, we agreed on it. And he was like, yeah, a bird would be cool. I'm like, cool. I want this specific kind. I knew I wanted a Goffin's cockatoo. Like we had rescued one a long time ago when I was younger. They're just the coolest little birds. They're like a big personality and a little package. They're just so cute. And I just knew that's what I wanted. Well, of course, after we decided, like, cool, we'll do that when they come in, like a week later, they're like, we have 2 coming in. And I'm like, of course. So long story short, I ended up getting one. It's funny because they, at the time, and this was like so long ago, like 10 years ago, they were $1,100 for sale at the store. And I ended up getting to pay mine off. Like I could pay it off, because I worked there. And I was so poor that I think I ended up only paying $300 because I also helped them move the store like a year later. And my boss was like, just consider all your debt gone. Like, you're fine. It's washed. He was so sweet. So anyway, I only paid like $300 for my little baby Goffin and named him Gatsby. And as you guys know, I've had him forever. And then I told you guys I rescued Lilu like a year later, and she was so sweet. And it's so weird, too, because she's such a man's bird. Like, she loves men. She came from a man. It was actually a family, but bonded with the man there. And it was so sad. They had her a year, and then they said they were allergic, which I think it was just because they had, like, really young kids, like toddlers, and they were like, this is just too much, and gave her up. And she's, like, the perfect bird. She's so well-behaved, so sweet, just never screams, really. She's just great. My bird is awful. I trained him to be the worst he can be. But anyway, I've had them forever, and it's just a lot of work. And when I think about it, I first got him when I was living with a guy, so I had help. He always watched him when I was out of town. We would tag team watching him or babysitting him or whatever. We had him for like 2 years together. And then we broke up, and we were still together. I mean, not together, but like off and on for 2 years. So he was still there. But basically, like, the only time I ever had him alone is I really moved out after we broke up, and I had him for about a year while I was by myself. I was also working 4 jobs, so I was hardly ever home, and, they adapted, and it was fine. And then I went to work on cruise ships, and they stayed with another family for 2 years. And then I came home from cruise ships, got them back to myself, and watched them for a couple months by myself. And it was hard. It was really, really difficult, especially because my littlest one, Gatsby, who was so overly attached. And something you should know about cockatoos is, like, they get really, really, really attached to one person. So much so they're known for, like, self-mutilation and plucking and, like, harming themselves because they get so in their head with like, separation. Or if, you come back after you've been gone, it's, like, almost like a a revenge kind of thing. Like they're doing it to get back at you or back at them, or like it's so messed up. They have so many mental problems. Probably why they get along so well with me, and that's my favorite bird. But they just need a lot of love and attention. But the biggest thing you're supposed to do with a cockatoo baby when you get one is give it alone time. Like let it have its space. Don't baby it. Don't be with it too much, because you can create this bond, also known as like a Velcro bird or a shoulder bird, where they never want to leave you. And it's a very big problem. It messes with them. It creates bad things for the future. It makes you want to rehome them because you basically mess them up to want to be with you all the time. So you never get any free time. And that's exactly what I did. You know, it sucks because I was so young when I got him. My therapist, who had a bird forever, so the same thing. You get a bird so young and you're like, cool, I'm going to get this pet and we're going to grow old together and spend all of our time together. And this is going to be my forever best friend. And you just don't think when you get birds from a young age that your life is going to change so much. You know, you don't think about that. You just think how exciting it is. And that's what I did. And I read all the things not to do. And I was like, well, why would I not want to do this? Having a Velcro bird and a best friend and somebody that's overly attached to you sounds amazing. So I did all the worst things. I had him on me all the time. I had a perch in my bathroom so he could sit there with me while I did my makeup or brushed my teeth or got ready. I had a perch in the shower, which I still do. So he can shower with me every time and get his little bath and be in there with me. He's on the couch with me. I'm literally used to holding my hand like a waitress or like a server at all times for 10 years because he's always sitting on my hand or sleeping on my hand or my chest. That bird is always around me. And back then, I used to take him out with me to bars, restaurants, coffee shops, to work with me, like everywhere, you know? And when I gave them to a friend to watch whenever I was working on cruise ships, they didn't do well. At least Lilu's fine, the bigger bird, the Eleonora cockatoo. She's used to being away from people. They raised her right. You know, being a year in the bird shop kind of helped her. And she's very good at being on her own, playing with toys, being independent. And that's how it should be. But mine, I've made awful. So when he went to stay with these other people, I think he would have done okay had I not come back. Every time I would get done with the contract, which would be 6 months, I'd come back and visit him several times while I was home and then go off again to sea. And that messed with him. I think if I was gone, he would forget me or at least move on and be good. But instead, I kept coming back. So he'd be like, why does she keep coming? Why does she keep leaving? Like, you know, that messes with them. It has to, right? So about 2 years in, he started plucking a lot and not doing well and acting depressed. And, you know, I think a lot of that had to do with just me coming and going all the time. So basically I came home and got my own apartment. That's another thing too, is like I stopped living my life because of them. Like that was literally the reason I stopped cruise ships, because my birds weren't doing well. If I didn't have my birds, who knows where I would be right now? Like I might have still been there. Who knows? Maybe I would have ended up back here. But either way, like that is the reason that I quit cruise ships and, you know, came back and got them at home in my own apartment, and things got really bad then. And I don't know if it's because, you know, I was home finally, so he was like stressing. It's so hard to even explain. And the lady I'm rehoming him with told me about it, and she's like, you know, it's like they basically look at you like you're their mate. And you're not, you're a human. So it's like basically like you're their mate for life, but you're also not reproducing or doing that. So it's like you can't give them everything they need. So it's almost like a nervous habit or like anxiety, like almost like biting nails or ripping hair out. It's they're not getting everything they need, or they're frustrated. So that's what they do to cope. So it's almost like that, you know, I did this to him, and I feel so guilty that I did this and made him this way. And at the same time, like I just get no peace, right? So I'm jumping everywhere here. Basically, when I got him home 5 years ago, he started plucking so bad, and he actually ended up ripping his neck open. It was on Christmas Eve, of course it was. And my mom came down, and we took him to the emergency room, and he bled out so much he almost died. They had to stitch his neck up. He had this cone on his neck forever. And like, what kind of life is that, right? So I'm like rehabbing this bird. You guys have seen pictures and videos. He still plucks. He looks a lot better now, but it's been 5 years. He's let his little crest grow out. The only thing he still plucks are his cheeks. But that being said, you know, that was just from a couple of months with him by myself, and I stress so easily and I can't deal with it. And then I met John, aka El Teco, aka my ex now, and, you know, he moved in immediately basically, and we were together 5 years. So once again, I had help. So I've only been with them by myself for a very little amount of time, but basically, like, it's been hell. Moving out to the new place with them, you know, your group, your family is like their flock, right? So we had those two birds, myself and John, And then I moved out on my own. So it's a new territory and no John. So it's like they lost a flock member. They've been stressed. You know, I'm doing everything. I have all the toys. I have everything. But it's like he just, once again, wants to be there, like my little Velcro bird. Like, I can't go pee without him flying in there and being on my shoulder. I can't go to another room without him having to be there on me or screaming bloody murder. I haven't even unpacked my apartment fully yet because I can't. Like, I can't go from a room to room without him just screaming. And I'm scared I'm going to get kicked out because it's so loud. It's so ridiculous. It's a tiny little apartment with me and 2 birds that want to be on me all the time. And I feel so guilty for like not wanting that when I'm the one who created that bond. Do you know what I mean? Like, I created him needing me so badly, and now I'm just like, I need some space. Like, it sucks. It really sucks. And, you know, like, I always give a lotion as an example. Like, when I get out of the shower, I want to put my lotion on. Well, he likes to eat the lotion. So the options are I can either put the lotion on with him sitting there and he keeps flying over to try to lick it off of me, or I set him on the counter and he tries to eat the lotion out of the bottle, or I shut the door to put my lotion on and he literally screams. The other day I counted like 54 screams or something when I was just putting lotion on. And it's miserable. You know, on weekends, they don't really let me sleep in. They get up at 7 a.m. and start screaming. Like, the only couple days I can actually sleep in. And I just, like, the only time they're happy is when I'm there, like, constantly and holding them. And I can't do that, right? And my thing is, like, and I'm 35, I feel like all I've ever done is, like, put other people or other things before me. And I've always been that way. I've always been a people pleaser. I've never put myself first. And I feel like, you know, this whole breakup just happened. I got out on my own. I'm 35. Life is changing. And I feel like my whole life, like, I feel like this is my opportunity to put myself first, and my life is ahead of me right now. Like, I have so much I want to do. I feel like this is my time to, like, really freaking go for my dreams, you know? And that being said, in general, like, it just sucks that I can't even, like, relax in my own home, you know? I literally have my Keurig machine, my coffee machine, in my bathroom, because in the morning when I wake up for work, if I go make coffee in the living room or the kitchen or whatever, they'll start screaming. And I also have to tiptoe. I can't flush the toilet because they'll hear that and they'll start screaming. So me trying to get ready in the morning, I have like my AirPods in to like barely like listen to music. I'm like tiptoeing around. I'm paying so much money for this apartment that I can barely afford on my own. And I feel like a prisoner in it. Like I can't even like live my life in it, you know? It's like smothered. And again, even then, my bird is still plucking and miserable too. So it sucks. And so I've decided to do this. I've decided to do this and try as hard as I can to follow my dreams, chase my dreams, make my life, you know, just what I want it to be, because this is my freaking chance to do that. And I don't know. I'm devastated because I feel like I'm giving away my family. Like, I feel like I'm like literally giving away my child, which sounds so stupid probably. And it sucks because you can't just tell your animal, like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, he's just going to think I abandoned him, and that kills me. But I also really think, not even just for me, like for him, that this is for the best, you know? And the lady that I talked to who's taking him, she used to breed them. She's actually the breeder that I got him from. And she retired from breeding, saying that this specific type of bird, this happens all the time. And it's just too much. And they are like the #1 most rehomed bird that there is. And it's just so sad. And she's like, it's inhumane. It's like the bond that they form with people. And they're so smart. And this is it's not right that we've done this to him. She's like, I won't do it anymore. It's just not right. I can't morally do it anymore. So she, as an obligation, feels like I will take in any of my babies that I bred, you know? So she has Gatsby's mom and dad and a lot of his brothers and sisters still, and she's retired. She is a certified vet tech, worked for the biggest bird hospital here for over 20 years, now works for Chewy, you know, the pet company, as like an Ask a Vet person, and works from home doing that. And she's always around the birds. She doesn't give them that like one-on-one human interaction, like the pet kind of love, that bonding thing. She trains them to be birds again. And so they're constantly around each other. He'll always be around other birds. He'll never, ever be alone. You know, with me, like, I sit there and think like, oh, this is so sad that he's not going to have a lot of human love and interaction, but they don't need that. They're bad with that. I mean, obviously, look, like, he's plucking, he's not getting what he needs. So she lets them be around each other. If they want to pair up, they do. She does not breed anymore, like I said, which is great. And yeah, so he'll always be around somebody. And when I think about like, oh, it's sad, like I'm like, he lives in a tiny little apartment with me and one other bird, and he's just sitting on my hand all the time as I walk from one room to another. Like, what kind of life is that too, you know? And it makes me sad. Like, I also don't have the discipline to like, I think it's so sad, like keeping birds in cages like that. It's like we've really done such an injustice to them by doing this, you know? It's like, why? Like birds are such like beautiful, amazing creatures, like, and we caged them. Like, we did such an injustice to them by doing this, you know what I mean? And like, I get that somebody else would have bought this bird if I hadn't, and you know, it could have been even way worse on him. Like, it says they usually have like 5 to 7 homes within the first 5 years of their life. So at least, you know, I've done good in that aspect. But it's just a warning to anybody who's ever thinking they want a bird. Do your research. Really, really, really do your research, and also adopt. If you go out there and look at any like rescue site, there are so many birds out there that need homes. It's just crazy. So my goal is like, one, like I'm going to make it a point. Like I'm going to make everything I can out of my life, because I'm not going to just do this for nothing. My biggest fear, like I was saying, I'm scared I'm going to regret this. Like, am I going to give my babies up and then in a few weeks, a few months be like, what have I done? Like, this is my family. Like, to not come home and have, you know, them say, hi friend and stuff. Like, it's so sad to me. And I already feel so lonely. Like, I'm worried. I am worried about how lonely I'm going to feel after this. I really am. But, you know, I'll have peace. I'll have actually the ability to relax in my own home and to go out and chase my dreams wherever they may take me, which will be great, because the fear that's bigger than regretting this is the fear that I'm going to be 80 one day and not having rehomed them and not going after my dreams and just staying here stuck with them because I feel guilty about it and being like, what could my life have been? That's my biggest fear. I do not want to regret it. And I don't want to resent them either by not doing this. You know what I mean? So that's a thing there. And it does give me comfort too that, like, again, Lily will be fine. She doesn't give an F about me. She's just like, whoever feeds me, especially if you're a man, I'll love you. Like, she'll be fine. But him, he's who I worry about. And it gives me comfort because she is only like 20 minutes away. She fully said, if you ever change your mind, you know, obviously you can have him back. It's no big deal. And she said too, this lady that's taking him, she is 60 and, you know, she has kids, and she's like, when something happens to me, like, they don't want him. So if you want, you can be first on the emergency list. If something happens to me, you'll be called. She also said, you know, I'm getting up there in age. If in 5 years, 10 years, you do everything you want to do, you come back here, you end up here, and you decide you want him back, let me know. That would be great, because then that'd be perfect. You can have him back and this and that. She'll have broken all the habits. And that's my one thing. If I ever get him back, I swear to God, I'm not going to go back on all the old bad habits I did and retrain him to be that little Velcro bird that, like, is just bad for both parties, you know? But again, if that doesn't even happen, my plan is one day I'm going to pay it forward. Like, until then, I want to give to all these bird rescues, and maybe one day when I have the opportunity to do it, when I'm older and at home, adopt another cockatoo or a goffin or a bird that needs a home. So, anyway, this is what I've been dealing with. I was actually going to rehome them last weekend, and Saturday it was like a torrential downpour here in Dallas. It was like Jumanji style storms. So Friday night I went to bed and told them goodnight, and I sobbed myself to sleep thinking, like, that's the last time I'm ever going to tell them goodnight. And then the next day it was like crazy storms, so we postponed it for a day, and the relief I felt was like unbelievable. I'm like, I have one more day with them. And then Sunday or Saturday night came, and I was like, I just can't do it. I'm not ready. Like, I didn't feel ready. So I ended up messaging this lady, and I was like, is there any way we can meet for coffee tomorrow and like talk about this whole thing? And she's like, absolutely. And she's like, this is your baby. Like, I want you to be 100% confident and like have confidence that you're doing the right thing. So we met up for coffee for like an hour and talked about everything. And that was all it took from me. First of all, her response in general, and then talking to her about everything. And, you know, again, I never put myself first, and it should be an easy decision for anyone, right? Like, this is when, here's my nerd again. I wish it was like Vampire Diaries where you can turn your feelings off, or like The Magicians where you can take your shade out and have no feelings, and it would just be so easy, but like, take them. I can't deal with this anymore. But instead, no, it's like ripping my heart out, you know? And I'm sitting here like not even putting myself first, just thinking I want them to be happy. I want what's best for them. And I think that might be why this is an easier thing for me now, because I talked to her about his behaviors and how this would happen and what would change. And I genuinely think that Gatsby is going to be better and more happy and become more independent and not be ripping his feathers out. And you know what I mean? Like, he'll learn to be a bird again, and he'll be around his own kind, and it'll be amazing. And so knowing that this is going to be better for him really makes me feel better. But it's still going to be so hard. So, as of tonight, I have Wednesday, Thursday, 3 more nights with my babies. And I'm just trying not to think about it. At least I know I'm making the right decision now. Whereas last week, I think I was sitting there like going back and forth, like, is this really what I want? You know? I know my ex hated the birds. Like, he was nice to them and took care of them, but he was not a fan. And it is a lot for somebody, especially if it's not a bird person, to come into a relationship like that. And that being said, like, if I didn't have the birds, our relationship would have failed anyway for all the reasons that it failed. But also, birds are, cockatoos specifically, or the way I had mine, are a total relationship ruiner. I need to blow my nose so bad I can't even breathe. Excuse me. Anyway, it's just, you know, that spontaneity. Like, we didn't have that. Like, we couldn't just, like, lay on the couch and watch a movie together. No, the birds would be screaming or need to be on us. Like, you can't just put them up to watch a movie or have dinner. They'd be screaming bloody murder, like, all the time. It was so much so then you'd have to have them out, and they'd be all over you, trying to get in your bowl, trying to be on you. Like, you couldn't just cuddle on the couch or anything. That being said, there was no spontaneous, like, sex or romance ever. Like, you had to, like, do it at night and upstairs or in the morning, and you can't be too loud because if the birds hear you, they start screaming. So it was such a relationship ruiner. Like, any romance or spontaneity or anything like that, it was impossible. Not that it was there anyway. I genuinely think it would have probably been the same had we not had birds. But that being said, it sucks. But
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Whew. Anyway, I feel like I've been having this same conversation with all of my friends and family, and now I'm just telling you guys because it's like I'm trying to validate it, like it's the right decision or not. But I know in my heart it is. I do. And I really genuinely think that after a few weeks, like, the peace that I'm going to feel is going to be fine. And if she texts me and says he is adapting greatly, like, that's all I need to hear. Like, it'll be great. And even then, like, you know, the thought of getting him back in 5 years or 10 years is great. But if he's doing good, do I really want to take him back and chance all of his bad habits coming back again? I don't want to mess with his little head, you know, coming and going all the time. I really don't. So I also think I want to tell her, because I fully trust this lady, that if somebody comes around that's looking for a pet or an older couple or something, like somebody that she knows and really feels would give him a good home, I think I'd be okay with that, you know? So anyway, and once again, I just beg of you guys, if you ever are thinking about getting a bird, just really, really, really do your research. Because I was doing some this weekend, and I found people on, like, Reddit, for example, that said the same thing. Like, this guy got 3 birds or 2 birds, and he's like, I did all my research. I knew what I was getting into. And he's like, I'm not even thinking about rehoming them because I would feel awful, but I wish I would have never got them. It's my whole life now. And it is, especially if you work in, like, a bird rescue or something. Like, you give up so much. Because they're not meant to be pets. They're not great pets, right? Like, they're meant to be in the wild. It's a lot. I also want to give a special thank you to a couple people, and that is one Blue Yake who offered to take my birds. He's like, I'll take them as long as until you want them again, like, or I can keep them. And he's all the way in Florida, but it was so sweet of him to offer. They have a lot of birds out there. They're with Mer Taylor if you want to go check them out, or what is it? I think the Mer People on Netflix. Great show. They're both on that, him and Eric. And then also Elena, who you guys might have seen, Griffey, the little naked Goffin who went viral all over the internet for dancing, and he was so cute. Rest in peace, little Griffey. But she's amazing. She works with a rescue as well, and also offered the same thing. Reached out to me, and I talked to her and basically just cried to her for 30 minutes over the weekend, just telling her what I was doing, thinking, like, am I doing the right thing? And she offered to help. She offered to try to get him or help get another home if I wasn't comfortable. The bird community is really great. That being said, there's a lot of really judgmental, mean people in the bird community, but also really, really great people. So huge shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for just listening and being there. And again, like, it's so funny because in therapy, like, I've been talking for months about my ex, but then this last therapy session, I just talked about my birds, and I literally cried for the first 40 minutes of therapy, just bawling. And my therapist is like, I've never seen you like this. She's like, you're gutted. Like, you were torn up. This is tearing you apart. And it is. I've never cried so much or been so upset over something before in my life. And mostly because I blame myself. I feel like I've created this situation that I'm now destroying, which is just so sad to me. But again, after talking through and talking about the habits and the way things are, I really genuinely feel like this is the best decision for them. So that being said, you know, I will keep you guys updated on everything. And, you know, probably do another podcast in another couple weeks, let you know how I'm doing, how the situation is going, and all that stuff. So I'll also give you guys an update on how the improv jam session went and all that. So this has been a whirlwind of a podcast. I also had some questions come into my website, but I feel like this is kind of long now, so maybe I'll get to those next time. So if you guys go to sarahbshow.com, SARAH, the letter B, and show.com, you guys can leave an audio message on there. You can leave, you know, a typed out one. You can leave questions, comments, whatever the case may be. Hit me up on there, and I will go over all of those next time. That'll be a good idea, and then give you guys updates. So that'll be the next episode. You can also follow me on all social media. You can find them all on that website as well. I'm really starting to do a lot more on my Facebook. That's another thing I've been wanting to do after I rehome them. I've had all these goals of like content creation that I can't do with them there. I can't even set up anything because they get so scared. So, and now I have a whole room free that their cages have been in, and I can actually use my apartment for this stuff now. So that'll be my goal once I rehome them. Clean up everything, set up the green screen, all the DJ equipment, all the instruments, and just really hit the ground running. I've already really started amping up my Facebook, which is facebook.com/the Sarah B. Morgan. I've started posting a little more on TikTok, even though it looks like that might get banned soon. So I don't know how much I should really concentrate on that right now, but I'll be trying to do some live streaming on Twitch and on Kick as well. And I'll have more info on that as I get it up and running. But again, I think rehoming them is going to even give me a kick in the ass more, because if I rehome them and just, that's been another worry, is that I'll fall into this like depression when they're gone, because I could actually go home and just sleep now and do nothing. And I don't want to do that, obviously. And I feel like that would be such an injustice to them too, to rehome them and then do it for nothing. So I'm going to work hard, and take the world by storm, hopefully. SNL, here I come, putting it out there. Let's make it happen. So I love you guys. Thanks for following along on the journey. I'm sorry this last like 20 minutes have been like me with this stuffy nose because I can't breathe right now from crying, and I have a lot of snot inside of me, so that's very sexy. Oh, also an update too. I know the last episode I did, I called out to my ex's ex-girlfriend to hit me up if she wanted to talk, because she was looking at all my social media. So either she listened and was like, oh shit, because I haven't seen her looking at my stuff lately that I've noticed, or she didn't listen at all and just didn't matter, but she did not reach out. So I've had some people ask about that. There's still time. Maybe she will. All right. I love you guys all so much. Once again, thank you all much. Oh my God, this nose, I need to blow it. Thank you all so much for the support. I love you. I'm so sorry for all the crying, and just, you know, thank you guys for being my family. And there you go. I'm going to get off of here now. I love you all, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the Sarah B. Show. Also, quick update. I just blew my nose and it sounds so much better, and I should have done that a long time ago. So I apologize again. All right. Until next time. Bye, you guys.